guys, and welcome to the Coral Sea, where you find us right now. It's roughly about 140 nautical miles east of Cairns, and it's pretty rocky and rolly. We've got about 20 knot winds and about a metre and a half swell that's coming over the reef at the moment on high tide. The draw card for us to come this far out off the coast is to go diving, and it certainly offers some magnificent diving out here. We've come out with another couple on their Nordhaven, and they're very experienced, both cruisers with 57,000 nautical miles under their belt, and lots of diving done, so in good company. However, as you might be aware of since our last episode, plans have changed. We're not in New Guinea due to several accounts from people that either live or work up there that said to us, if you're going to go cruising, you probably either want to have weapons or have security on board, and that for us didn't really appeal. We hope those conditions change and one day we can visit New Guinea, but do so safely. The other thing that's held us back a little bit and put us behind schedule is that we had to change our entire house battery. There's a lot of work to do that, and we'll go through a bit of that later on. So just got to roll with it. We're making the most of our time and hoping for some great diving out here, and how long we'll be out for, the weather will decide that for us. So okay, let's go and see what we can find, what we're doing. It was a Saturday night and close to full moon when we departed Port Douglas at 6 p.m. Ahead of us we had 140 nautical miles through a 1.5 metre swell and 20 knot winds. It took us just over 16 hours to reach our destination, Holmes Reef. The passage went smoothly, and it was nice to have the moon following us right through the night. We made it to Holmes Reef just in time to have a quick swim at the quay that emerges at low tide. Crystal clear water, conch shells, and we felt like we were here and in for a big adventure in the Coral Sea. We're now at Ribbon 3, and we're just about to go for a dive over here on Steve's Bommy. Supposed to be a fantastic dive site that we missed out on last year. We've got some friends with us, or we're meeting up with them here. They're over there on their Nordhaven. They have done way more diving than what we have, so we're looking forward to creating some memories here on Ribbon 3 with them today. So let's go for it. Steve's Bommy was fantastic, a wonderful dive site to enjoy with our friends Mark and Jennifer. An abundance of fish, great visibility, and really interesting encounters with some beautiful coral such as the senior coral. We did several dives with them in the 3 nights we were out on the Ribbon Reefs. Drift dives on the outside of the wall, something we would never done unless we had someone on the surface in a tender watching us below. We came across a zebra shark, great visibility. At one point we had 9 cuttlefish around us. So a really good start with our friends of the Nordhaven 46 Starlet. We returned to Port Douglas to take delivery of new AGM house batteries. We had difficulties sourcing the same Lifeline 2-volt batteries, so we opted for Roll's 6-volt. There are 12 batteries and each weighs about 60 kilos, so we had to manually get 720 kilos of battery on and 720 kilos off the boat. A lot of work there. The old bank was nearing the end of its reliable life. We all hope for longer life of our batteries. We got nearly 4 years out of our lifelines, but we had also cycled them a lot since we spent a lot of time at anchor and not so much time plugged into shore power in a marina. The more cycles, the shorter the life. After some wiring changes for the Roll 6-volt batteries and adjusting and resetting some parameters via remote dial in from Nick at O Electric, we were satisfied and ready to get back out for some extended cruising. We did another provisioning of fresh produce from the markets, basics from the supermarket and a stop at the bottle shop. I remove as much packaging as possible before departure, so we keep rubbish storage to minimum when we're underway. Here we are, yet another dive. Our focus to venture out to the Coral Sea was to go diving. We did this together with our friends Mark and Jennifer on the Nordhaven 46. The visibility is rarely less than 25 meters, and that deep blue is so mesmerizing. Most of the dives in our first week, we encountered 20-knot winds and a decent swell. We often took our tenders to reach our dive sites and sometimes traveled up to 2 nautical miles away from our boats. When the swell was too challenging to launch our tenders, we would dive straight off the boats and plan each dive carefully to make sure that we could get back up to our boats safely. We had lines out to know where we were, and even getting back up on the boat again had its challenges when the roll was going. But where there is a challenge, you often find a reward. And so we did, with visibility up to 40 meters on remote and isolated bommies. To dive through caves and caverns covered in gigantic Gorgonian fan coral that creates the most spectacular underwater forest was unforgettable. Diving down to 30 meters and still be able to see the ripples or the waves on the surface makes you feel so connected to the ocean. Bumphead parrotfish joining us at times on our dives. The light changes a lot underwater, not just the sunlight, but also reflects so much of the white coral sand surrounding some of these isolated bommies. It makes it so spectacular to photograph and be in this environment when the light is so bright. Here we are photographing this little city, an entire little bommy with so much life on it. And we're entering these bommies feeling like we're going to a new place each time. You never know what you're going to find, and it's just exciting to see what lives on these bommies. They're like little towns or big cities. We stagger our departure time when we travel together with Starlet. This is due to us having different cruising speed. We try to manage to get to the same anchorage roughly about the middle of the day, so we have great visuals of a new place to spend the night. This time around we haven't caught any fish with lines behind the boat, but Nick has been successful in spearing some fish. One day he came back with a nice big coral trout that turned into dinner for a few nights. And nothing beats it. You feel so spoiled where you can enjoy a nice meal of fresh fish together with some nice and healthy veggies. In the end of the day, we get together with our friends and talk about the dives that we've shared during the day. It's a great time to catch up and make plans for tomorrow. It's also a good time to get to know each other, talk about our past, and also talk about our visions for the future. So there you go. You've got a Nordhaven and a Fleming that are enjoying great times together in good company and with similar visions of what boating is all about. So it's still a bit rolly out there. We're waiting for the opportunity to drop our tender once the swell comes down a little bit, which will happen hopefully when the tide goes down behind the reef here. It's difficult to drop our tender if the roll is too big. We run the risk of either damaging the tender, the boat or ourselves, so we do it when it's safe to do so. While we're sitting out somewhere there, we tend to dive into learning about the areas we're in, the fish we've seen, the creatures below the ocean and so on. It's worth mentioning this fabulous book by Peter Sayer. It's Australia's Coral Sea Islands and Marine Park. He's done a complete guide of all the cays and reefs in the Coral Sea. He spent a lot of time out here with his wife Michelle and done a lot of charters, and we had the opportunity to meet them in Port Douglas since they were in the berth next to us. This book is a must-have if you're doing this trip. He doesn't just give anchor points, he gives dive sites and all sorts of tips and handy hints what you may come across on this beautiful area out in Coral Sea. So I'm writing my diary at the moment, which is good to write down the highlights, what the weather is doing and what we encounter. It's quite nice to look back at in the future. So until we can drop our tender, just laying low and just trying to get some information into the brain area.